My name is Patricia. I found out I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding while holding a paper plate of macaroni salad, standing between the lemonade table and a cooler full of beer. It was June, the kind of heat that makes plastic forks bend when you try to scoop potato salad. My aunt had just put a playlist on, and someone's toddler was wailing near the bouncy castle. It was my cousin Laura who said it. She'd just come from the barbecue, tossing her hair back with one hand, a hot dog in the other. Then she said cheerfully, "Are you flying in for Olivia's big day or just driving down?" I blinked. "What big day?" She laughed, thinking I was being sarcastic. "The wedding, silly. She's finally marrying that guy with the hair gel, Jonathan, right?" I smiled like I knew exactly what she was talking about. "Oh, right. That." Then I excused myself to go check on the deviled eggs, which was code for sitting in my car with the air conditioning on full blast and trying to breathe through the strange, sudden silence in my chest. Olivia was my younger sister. I helped raise her after our dad died. I held her hair back when she got sick at her first college party and Venmo'd her money more than once when she forgot to pay rent. I was the one who overnight the weighted blanket during her first panic attacks and who stayed on the phone with her the night she thought Jonathan was cheating, and now she was marrying him, with floral arrangements, a venue, and apparently a guest list that didn't include me. I sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to decide if I was hurt, angry, or just tired. The answer was yes to all three. Inside the house, someone had cut the sheet cake with strawberries. From the window, I could see Laura talking to my mother, who was wearing her usual light blue summer dress and looked perfectly calm, like everything in the world was exactly as it should be. I looked down at the plate in my hand. The macaroni was sweating in the heat. They had planned a wedding my sister hadn't even mentioned, and somehow I was the only one who seemed surprised. I waited 2 days before calling my mother. It wasn't because I needed time to cool down. I wasn't exactly angry. I wasn't even looking for an apology. I think I just needed to hear her say out loud that they had planned the whole thing without me. She answered on the second ring. "Hi, honey," she said in that warm, efficient voice she used with store clerks and church volunteers. I could picture her in the kitchen, wiping down the counter with a dish towel, the phone nestled between her cheek and shoulder. "Everything okay?" "I just have a quick question," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Is Olivia getting married?" A pause, a breath, the sound of a refrigerator closing. "Well," she said like I'd asked if the mail had come. "Yes, next month, actually. We weren't sure if you'd be free. I didn't know it was happening." She chuckled lightly. "Oh, Patricia, don't be dramatic." That word again, dramatic. It was the same tone she used when I cried at Dad's funeral and she told me to pull myself together, the same one she used when I called her in tears after losing my job 5 years ago. "Don't be dramatic, honey. You'll land on your feet." I let the silence settle between us. "You know," she continued, "Olivia really wanted something small. Just family." "I am family," I sighed. "Yes, but you're always traveling and these things get complicated. Jonathan's parents had a lot of input, and there were limited seats. You understand." I didn't understand, but I knew better than to say so. "You're not mad, are you?" she asked suddenly softer. "I don't know what I am." Another silence. This one heavier. "Well, we just thought it would be easier this way. Less pressure for everyone." Easier. That was the word. It wasn't that they had forgotten me. It's that I was the easiest to erase. I said I had to get back to work, even though I wasn't working that day. She said, "Okay, honey," and just like that, we hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time. Then I opened my calendar, scrolled to the next month, and looked at the wedding weekend. Nothing scheduled. No RSVP. No +1. I didn't slam any doors or post anything online. I didn't call Olivia to demand an explanation or write a long, sad text that would go unanswered. Instead, I bought a ticket to Scotland. I didn't tell anyone. Not my coworkers. Not my neighbor who usually collected my mail when I traveled. Not even my friend Alice, who had stood by me through 2 breakups and a layoff and knew my coffee order better than the barista. I just stopped replying to things. That Friday, I submitted a vacation request to HR, packed a small bag, and left a single post-it note on my fridge. Gone. Don't wait up. The flight from Seattle to Reykjavik was silent. I didn't watch a movie, didn't read. I just stared at the flight map on the little seat screen. By sunrise, I was in a rented cabin, half covered in moss and silence. The lake outside looked frozen, though it wasn't. The windows fogged in the mornings. The showers smelled faintly of sulfur. I loved it immediately. For 24 hours, I didn't check my phone. On the second day, I walked to the edge of the lake. There was a wooden bench half buried in the snow, and I sat there until I couldn't feel my hands anymore. I took a picture. It wasn't perfect. I wasn't smiling, just a figure in a wool coat sitting by the still water under a white sky. No caption, no tags, just the image. I posted it to my Instagram story. Within 10 minutes, the view count lit up. Olivia. My cousin Laura, my mother. No one said a word. I didn't expect them to. That wasn't the point. The point was that they saw me. Not at the bridal shower, not at the rehearsal dinner, not at the wedding planning brunch I hadn't even heard about. But there, in a country of glaciers and steam and silence, I became momentarily visible. The next day, I posted nothing, just lived. I drank bitter coffee from a ceramic mug and watched the mist thicken over the lake. I wrote in my journal, nothing poetic, just lists of things I didn't have to do here. No small talk, no pretending I was fine, no RSVP, no gift registry, just me and the sound of the ice shifting in the wind. I knew the wedding was that weekend, even though no one had said the date out loud to me. I found out the way you find out most things your family doesn't want you to know, social media breadcrumbs, inside jokes. My cousin Chris had posted a boomerang of clinking champagne glasses with a caption that read, "Love is in the air." And someone else tagged a boutique hotel 2 hours outside of Oregon. That was enough. Saturday morning in Scotland was silver and silent. I sat by the window with a blanket over my legs and watched the light slowly spread across the loch. There were no church bells here, no wedding playlists or bridesmaids giggling behind closed doors. Just snow and steam and quiet. I made porridge. I didn't look at my phone. By late afternoon, the wedding would likely have begun. Maybe Olivia was walking down the aisle in something lacy and sleeveless, our mother crying at the appropriate moment. I pictured soft lighting, pastel flowers, filtered joy, and somewhere in the photos there would be an empty chair. Not obviously. They would have filled the seat or rearranged the row, but I knew where I should have been and wasn't. That evening, I posted a new picture. It was just my hand holding a ceramic cup against the backdrop of the frozen lake. The sky was the color of lavender. My nail polish was slightly chipped on one finger. Nothing glamorous, nothing posed, no caption. Again, the view count sprang up within minutes. Olivia, our mother, 2 of her friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Still no one messaged. Still nothing was said. But this time I could feel it. The silence had shifted. It was no longer absence. It was held breath. I imagined them scrolling through their phones between dances or dessert courses, seeing my post in a lull and wondering if it meant something. It did. It meant I knew. It meant I was watching, not out of jealousy or spite, but because I had mattered once. And now I didn't. Not enough to be invited, but enough to haunt the edge of the picture. I didn't post again for 2 days. I let them notice the silence. I let them fill it with whatever story they needed to tell themselves. I had nothing to add. 3 days after the wedding, I woke to the sound of my phone vibrating on the bedside table. It was barely 6 in the morning, and outside the sky was a pale gray, the kind of color that made you forget the sun even existed. The phone kept vibrating, missed messages, more messages. At first, I thought maybe someone had died, but the names on the screen told a different story. Mia, Aunt Rosa, my mother, then Olivia's college roommate, and finally Alice, the only one who always told me the truth. Her message was short, no greeting, no preamble. "You need to see this." She attached a link, a TikTok, no context, just a thumbnail of what looked like a reception hall and something blurry flying through the air. I hesitated. I wasn't sure I wanted to open it. I wasn't sure I wanted to know, but I clicked. The video started mid-chaos. Shouting, gasps, movement. A bridesmaid was screaming, not with joy, but with fury, her voice cracking as she hurled a bouquet across the room. Not in ceremony, but in rage. People were standing still, turning, backing away. Someone knocked over a table arrangement. Glass shattered somewhere off-screen. Then the camera found Olivia. She was crying, not delicate tears, but sobbing, face red, mascara smeared. She was yelling something, though the audio was distorted. The voice that came next was clearer. "You were my best friend Olivia, my maid of honor, and you were sleeping with him the whole time." The voice belonged to Nicole, her best friend since freshman year of college, the same girl who helped plan the bachelorette party, the same girl who was apparently supposed to marry Jonathan. My stomach dropped. Another guest's voice, this one half laughing in disbelief, said, "That's the maid of honor." The camera panned just enough to catch Jonathan frozen between them, hands raised like a man trying to tame wild animals. He said something no one understood. It didn't matter. The crowd had already started to move. Guests whispering, grabbing coats, collecting purses. One woman left with her napkin still in her hand. The video ended with Olivia collapsing to the floor. I watched it twice. Then I flipped my phone over and stared at the ceiling of my cabin. The wooden beams creaked in the cold. Somewhere outside, a bird made a sound I couldn't identify. The buzzing started again. Voicemails, missed calls, new texts piling on top of the old ones. No one said the words, but they didn't have to. "Please call me. Your sister is a mess. We need you home, Patricia, please." By noon, I had a voicemail from my mother, her voice wavering like a radio signal from another lifetime. In it, she said Olivia wasn't eating, that the family was mortified, that people were talking. She didn't mention that I had been right, didn't apologize, didn't ask how I was. She just said, "We don't know what to do without you." I sat by the window, bare feet pressed against the cold floorboards, watching the lake ripple in the breeze. My phone buzzed again. This time it was from Nicole. Not a call, just a text. "I'm so sorry you weren't there. You probably would have stopped me." She was wrong. I wouldn't have stopped her. I would have let the truth find its way, just like I had. By early afternoon, my phone had stopped buzzing and started to beg. The voicemails weren't sharp or angry anymore. They were softer now. My mother left 6 of them in under 3 hours, each one a little more frantic than the last. By the third one, she was crying or trying to. Her voice cracked in places it never had before. "Patricia," she whispered, "your sister is devastated. I don't think she's left her room since Saturday. We don't know what to say to her. We need you home. You've always been the strong one, the one who holds everyone together." That phrase again, the strong one, the one who knew how to carry things, who never asked to be carried herself. I didn't reply. Instead, I boiled water for tea and went outside, letting the steam warm my face as the wind cut through my sleeves. The sky above me was endless, low, and quiet. I took a picture of the horizon, a faint pink light resting on the edge of a glacier, and posted it without a word. 5 minutes later, my phone vibrated. "She's not doing well. She keeps asking for you, Patricia, please." Just 5 minutes. This was from my father's sister, a woman who once told me, after my father died, that older daughters are like extra mothers. I was 15. I watched the snow collect on the porch step and said nothing. That night, a message came from Olivia herself. Not a call, just a text. "I know I hurt you. I didn't think it would matter this much. I thought you didn't want to be part of things anymore. Please, I need you. I don't know who else to ask." I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I didn't believe her, but because it was the first real thing she had said to me in years. But it wasn't enough. Not after all the times she had accepted my help but not my presence. Not after letting me fade out of the family picture without asking if I was still there. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did for them. And now that everything was falling apart, they wanted the scaffolding back. But I wasn't made of steel anymore. I had become cold as a glacier, unmoving. It was almost midnight when the phone rang again. This time I answered. Not out of forgiveness, not because I had softened. I simply didn't want the silence to say everything for me. "Patricia?" My mother breathed, like she had been holding her voice for hours. I didn't speak. She waited, then filled the space as she always did, with explanations disguised as concern. "She's not doing well," she said softly. "Olivia, she barely eats. She won't come downstairs. She keeps asking if you've replied." I could hear the clinking of something ceramic in the background. Probably her kitchen. Probably the same blue teacup she always used when she needed to sound her most gentle. "I wish you were here," she added. I looked out the window of my cabin. Outside, the lake had turned to glass. The sky was low and endless, the kind of cold that made sound feel smaller. "I have been," I said finally, "for years. You're the ones who didn't see me." There was a pause. Not defensive, not quick, just still. "I didn't know you felt like that," she said, her voice weaker now. "You never said, no one asked." She let out a breath, not quite a sigh, just the sound of realizing there was no script left that would work. "I'm sorry," she said, but it came out like a question. I didn't answer. Somewhere in the silence she understood, because for the first time, she didn't try to fix it. No apologies, no gentle rewrites of history, just the sound of her breathing, the faint tick of a clock in the background, the quiet of two people realizing something had ended a long time ago. And this was just the echo. "Will you come home?" she asked after a while. I looked around the room, the wooden floor, the wool blanket on the chair, the sound of the wind against the windows. Everything simple. Everything mine. "No," I said gently. "I think I finally am home." We didn't say goodbye. We just let the call fade away. I sat there for a while, listening to the silence. It didn't hurt anymore. It didn't comfort me either. It just felt true. The next morning, I woke early. The cabin was filled with a silence that demanded nothing of me. I wrapped myself in a thick sweater and went out to the back deck. The lake below was smooth as glass, reflecting the pale gold of a rising sun. The sky stretched vast and empty, and for the first time, that emptiness felt like peace. I made tea, scribbled a few lines in my journal, and took out the heavy paper I had brought from home but never used. I wrote a letter, short, simple, no accusations, no lists of what had been done or left undone. Just this: "I hope you find peace. I hope you tell the truth. I hope that next time the invitation comes before the apology. Patricia." I signed it with my full name, folded it carefully, addressed it to the house I grew up in. No return address. I drove into town later that day and dropped it in the red mailbox near a bakery that smelled of cardamom and ash. The man behind the counter nodded as I passed, recognizing me from the morning before. "Chilly today," he said. I smiled. "Not as cold as yesterday." On the way back, I stopped at the edge of the lake. A single bench faced the water. I sat there for a while, drinking coffee from a paper cup, watching the steam rise and disappear. My phone stayed in my pocket, untouched. When I got back to the cabin, I posted one last picture. A chair, wooden, empty, framed by snow. Beyond it, the lake. No caption, but I knew they would see it. Not because they followed me, but because people always notice what's missing when it stays quiet for too long. That night, I didn't check messages, didn't scroll, didn't wonder what they were saying back home. Instead, I made soup, lit a candle, pulled a blanket over my legs, and read the same page of a book 3 times. Not because I was distracted, but because I was in no hurry to leave the silence. There was no victory in it, just clarity, no closure, just space. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel erased. I just felt. Thank you for listening to Patricia's story. Life certainly takes unexpected turns. The sister who excluded her on what should have been the most important day of her life was the same one who came begging for help when everything fell apart. What would you do if your sister didn't invite you to her wedding? Tell us in the comments if you would do the same as Patricia. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share this video to support us, and subscribe to the channel for more surprising stories.